The 26th of October, 1597. A channel on the southwest coast of Korea, 300 meters wide. On one side of it, a Japanese fleet of around 130 ships. On the other, 13. And the 13 are winning. By the end of this day, Korean accounts will record around 30 Japanese ships wrecked in this channel. One of their commanders dead. Another carried out wounded. The Korean Admiral will lose nothing. Not one ship. He is 52 years old. And 6 months ago, his own government had him arrested, tortured, and thrown out of the Navy. He will not win this by fighting them. He wins it by choosing where. There is a place on the southwest coast of Korea where the sea does not behave like the sea. The water moves through a gap barely 300 meters wide. Twice a day it runs one way. Then it stops. Then it turns and runs the other way, fast enough to drag a ship backwards against the wind. The Koreans call it Uldolmok, the roaring strait. In the autumn of 1597, one man looked at this water and decided it was worth more than a fleet. Five years earlier, Japan had invaded. Toyotomi Hideyoshi had united the Japanese islands after a century of civil war, and he had an army of veterans with nothing left to fight. So he pointed them at the mainland. Korea was to be the road to China. The invasion went well on land and badly at sea. Japanese armies took city after city, but their supplies came by water along the coast. And at sea they kept meeting the same commander. Again, and again, and again. His name was Yi Sun-sin, and by 1596 he was the most dangerous man on that coast. The Japanese could not beat him at sea, so they beat him another way. In early 1597, a Japanese double agent fed the Korean court a piece of intelligence. A fleet was coming, at a place, on a day. Yi was ordered to sail and intercept it. He judged the water a trap and refused. The court called it disobedience. There is a detail here that people skip. The order Yi refused was not a bad order, badly written. It was written by the enemy. The Japanese commander Konishi Yukinaga is recorded as having sent the agent, and the agent told the Koreans exactly what they wanted to believe. He was arrested, carried to the capital, and tortured. He was stripped of his rank and reduced to a common soldier. He was 52 years old. Command of the Navy passed to a rival officer, Won Kyun. In the summer of that year, Won Kyun took the fleet Yi had spent 6 years building and sailed it into a Japanese ambush at Chilcheollyang. The Korean Navy was destroyed almost completely. Won Kyun died there. It is the only defeat in the entire naval war that the Korean side records without qualification. 6 years of work gone in a single night. Of a fleet that had once controlled the whole southern coast, 12 ships remained. The court reinstated Yi Sun-sin, and then it wrote to tell him the navy was finished, and that he should abandon his ships and join the land army. His reply is the most famous sentence in Korean military history. Your Majesty, this servant still has 12 ships. He went down to the coast and found them, 12 hulls, and the men who had run from Chilcheollyang and were now slowly coming back to the water. One more ship joined him before the battle, 13. The number in the letter is 12. The number at the battle is 13. Both are in the record, and the gap between them is not an error. It is one more ship arriving late from a navy that was supposed to no longer exist, against a fleet that had just destroyed a navy in a night. Ye could not win a battle at sea. 13 ships cannot fight 130 in open water. Numbers decide it, and the numbers were absurd. So he decided not to fight at sea. He moved his ships to Myeongnyang. At its narrowest, the channel is about 300 meters. The current runs through it at up to 10 knots, and it reverses roughly every 3 hours. Understand what that does to a fleet. A fleet is not a number. A fleet is a number that can be brought to bear. 13 ships in a line across 300 meters is a wall. 130 ships trying to enter 300 meters is a queue. In a gap that size, 130 ships cannot be 130 ships. They can only be the handful at the front. The rest are behind them, packed in, waiting. Useless. And when the tide turns, they are not waiting anymore. They are being pushed. The night before, Yi is said to have told his officers, "Those who seek death shall live. Those who seek life shall die." On the morning of the 26th of October, the Japanese fleet entered the strait. The current was running with them. It carried them in fast. And then Yi's line broke. Not the Japanese line. His own. His captains looked at what was coming down the channel toward them, and they held back. For a time, Yi's flagship fought alone at the front of the strait. He wrote about it afterwards plainly, the way he wrote about everything. "My flagship was alone facing the enemy formation. None of the other ships advanced." He did not retreat. He stood in the current and fired, alone, until, shamed into it, the others came forward. Nothing in his account suggests he expected them to. He simply did not leave. And then the shape of the water began to do its work. The Korean ships were heavy, built to absorb punishment and carry cannon. The Japanese ships were built to close fast and board. In open water, that favors Japan. In a corridor 300 meters wide, where only a few ships can reach the front at a time, and the rest can only watch, it favors the guns. And then the tide changed. The current that had carried the Japanese in now ran against them. Ships already packed too close began to drift backwards into each other. Hulls collided. Oars fouled. The formation folded in on itself. While under fire, in a channel it could not turn around in. Korean accounts put Japanese losses at around 30 ships. Among the dead was the commander Kuroshima Michifusa. Todo Takatora, one of Japan's most experienced naval commanders, was wounded and carried out. Yi Sun-sin lost no ships at all. Myeongnyang did not end the war. It ended the Japanese plan. The invasion depended on moving supplies up the west coast by sea. After Myeongnyang, that route was shut and the Japanese pulled back south. The war ground on for another year, and Yi Sun-sin was killed in its final battle. But the road to the Yellow Sea stayed closed. One more thing, because it matters. You will often hear that Yi won by stretching an iron chain across the strait to catch the Japanese hulls. It is a good story, it is in the films. But it does not appear in Yi's own war diary, and historians generally treat it as legend added later. The real version is better. A chain is a thing you build. What Yi used was already there and had been there for every commander who ever sailed past it, on every tide for 1,000 years. He was the one who looked at it and saw a weapon. He did not trap them with a chain. He trapped them with the water and with the clock.